It all started, I guess, in December of 2022. Layla started complaining a lot about not feeling well. And then one day she came to me and she said, "Mom, my lymph nodes are swollen and this doesn't feel right. Something's wrong."
I started to get this shooting pain in my shoulder, and one night I couldn't even sleep with it. I was really trying, but I was rolling around and I couldn't even move. It was really bad.
She calls in the middle of the night and she was in tears. She was sobbing. It was excruciating pain in her shoulder. She was like, "Mom, it hurts so bad and I can't breathe. It hurts to breathe." And I said, "Oh my God, come home immediately. Let's go to urgent care and let's see what's going on." The nurse walks in and he maybe spends 5 minutes with Layla asking her questions. And he said, "I kind of feel like it's her spleen. But listen, I don't want to mess around with this. I'm going to send you to the ER." We went to the emergency room. They checked us in. We went back. They did blood work. So then they lead us down this hallway, and there's a small room, and we barely sat in our seats. And the doctor looked at Layla and said, "It's leukemia." I call my husband, and I let him know, and and then I called my daughter, my youngest daughter. She was at school, and said, "You need to come home."
I have a really hard time talking about this part. So I step away, and she says, "Your sister has leukemia." And I just fall to the floor.
This was all in the span of 2 hours, and I'm being diagnosed with cancer and sitting in the back of an ambulance on my way to a hospital for where I'm gonna be at for who knows how long. So that idea is when it really started to hit me. We were able to get in contact with Dr. Lon Smith, and then he was able to connect us to Dr. Kantarjan from MD Anderson at Houston, and he told us basically to come that afternoon. A couple days later, I started getting really intense chemo. So intense that the first 2 days I was immobile. I wasn't allowed to have my contacts in, so I couldn't see either. And so I just felt like I was sitting in my chair, stuck in this most terrible feeling that is undescribable. While I was getting chemo, I also started to get this thing called brain fog, where I just couldn't think straight, felt depressed. I didn't look like myself, I didn't feel like myself. It was hard, it was tough.
That girl endured more pain and suffering than any other 19-year-old I'd ever seen. And she did it with grace and strength. I was so proud of her and in complete awe.
Throughout the time she was in the hospital, blood transfusions were crucial for her. They minimized the symptoms astronomically. She was a different person before and after a blood transfusion.
I think that I had probably over 30, genuinely. That first night, they took vials and vials of my blood, and I was faint. After being woozy for about 2 hours, they put that blood transfusion in, and I was saying hi to the nurse and being super funny.
Color would come back. She would perk up. She'd be able to actually walk around. And every single time, I'd look up at that transfusion bag. And one day, it read South Texas Blood and Tissue Center from San Antonio. Couldn't believe it. I told him, I said, this is bizarre, but I happen to be on the board for the Blood and Tissue Center Foundation. And he stopped me, interrupted me, and he said, "Our shelves are empty every single day." And I've seen it. Layla's had to wait hours for a blood transfusion because there weren't any.
That is why it is so important to give blood, because I have seen it myself. And not just for cancer patients, everyone in that hospital needed it left and right.
To put into perspective how many bags of blood that I have taken into my body as one human being, when you think about how many people donate blood for one truck, it will be about 30 people. That can be equivalent to one person, an entire truck worth of blood. I think donating blood is one of the most important things you can do, and it is constantly in demand.
We're needed everywhere, and we'll go everywhere.
It really does help patients like me who run out of blood during treatment or need it to feel better. This is a situation for people everywhere. As much as I'd like to say I am like I used to be, I still live in a lot of fear, but I think there's also some benefits too, and it teaches you a lot about life, and it teaches you a lot about being appreciative for what you have and for where you're at and for having a body and being able to walk, being able to move. It honestly has changed me a lot for the better too.